Have you ever noticed how reaching your initial $10,000 feels like scaling a sheer vertical cliff, yet the subsequent $20,000 arrives faster than you imagined?
Buckle up, because crossing the 30,000 threshold is going to fundamentally dismantle and rebuild everything you assumed you understood about personal autonomy and financial growth.
Most people treat prosperity like a straight staircase where every single coin saved pushes you one exact notch closer to your target.
Hit 10 grand and you assume you are 10% through 100,000. Hit 20 and you are 20% along.
That arithmetic seems logical, right? Completely false.
And that exact linear illusion is precisely why the majority remain trapped forever on the endless treadmill of exchanging precious hours for limited paychecks.
My name is Alex, and I spend an obsessive amount of mental energy dissecting financial behavior and exploring why certain individuals shatter their monetary barriers while others remain permanently constrained. If you genuinely desire to comprehend the mechanics of true abundance instead of blindly hoping your luck turns around, tap that subscription button right now and drop a like if this completely
shifts your perspective on your future. Here is a revelation that will likely startle you. The $30,000 threshold is not simply another stepping stone on your path toward independence.
It represents the exact moment when the underlying physics of your financial life transform completely.
This is the exact juncture where you stop grinding directly for currency, and currency finally begins mobilizing on your behalf.
It transforms basic defense into powerful leverage, altering your entire connection to wealth indefinitely.
You might believe 10,000 brought security and 20,000 offered control. But 30,000 is where momentum takes the steering wheel entirely independently.
Yet, most people are utterly blind to this upcoming shift. Let me illustrate what a typical monetary trajectory actually looks like.
At 5,000 saved, you still wake up every single morning checking your balance with a tight knot in your chest.
Can you cover rent this month? What if your vehicle engine fails completely? Every single choice feels like a make-or-break crisis for your survival.
Reach 10,000 and a noticeable change occurs. That anxious knot softens slightly. You rest easier at night.
You handle minor emergencies without sliding into high interest debt. You have established what experts term a fundamental cushion, and for the first time in years, you breathe easier.
This safety milestone matters deeply, but it is merely the starting line. 20,000 feels entirely distinct.
You are no longer merely surviving. You are plotting strategically. You absorb larger shocks. Maybe you finally resign from a toxic workplace when a better opportunity arises.
You allocate funds toward retirement accounts and shift from defensive survival into active expansion.
This is the stage where most people pat themselves on the back, convinced they have mastered personal finance.
But this is precisely where things become profoundly fascinating.
Most individuals mistakenly assume 30,000 is just an incremental addition of the exact same sensation, slightly more breathing room or an upgraded holiday.
They could not be further from reality. 30,000 marks a total paradigm shift in the laws of fiscal acceleration.
This is where compounding ceases to be a theoretical concept found in dusty textbooks and manifests as a potent active force in your everyday existence.
You transition from managing your funds emotionally to directing them with tactical precision. You stop thinking like someone who merely holds cash and start thinking like someone who engineers abundance.
At 30,000, your cognitive relationship with money experiences a profound evolution.
You stop viewing currency as something to hoard tightly and begin recognizing it as an army of specialized tools built to generate freedom.
Every single coin now possesses a specific assignment. Certain bills stand sentinel as active guards inside your emergency reserve.
Other funds act as diligent workers dispatched into global markets to recruit allies. Certain capital units operate as scouts testing uncharted ventures capable of transforming your entire trajectory.
This is not mere feel, good philosophy. Measurable behavioral shifts occur at this exact boundary point.
Economists call it the bridge from scarcity psychology to abundance awareness. When you cross 30,000, your mind exits fear, driven paralysis, and enters possibility, driven operation.
You choose actions based on prospective opportunity rather than desperate preservation. Consider this simple comparison.
When you possessed 5,000, spending an extra $100 felt like a monumental gamble. When you held 20,000, that same 100 required careful deliberation.
But upon reaching 30,000, your evaluative framework undergoes a complete overhaul. You stop questioning whether you can technically afford an expense.
Instead, you analyze whether that deployment represents the most efficient use of capital to yield greater returns, heightened independence, or expanded horizons.
Here is where the vast majority completely misinterpret the objective.
They believe 30,000 equates to permission for lifestyle inflation, purchasing flashier transportation, or upgrading to a luxurious apartment. Certainly, those choices remain available, but executing them demonstrates the mindset of a spender rather than an empire builder.
Those who truly grasp the 30,000 principle operate on an entirely different frequency.
They treat this milestone as the precise instant they switch from playing defense to executing ruthless offense.
Rather than merely guarding their current holdings, they position their assets to multiply aggressively.
They execute calculated risks previously out of reach and engineer revenue engines operating independently of their personal labor.
At 30,000, doors open to deployment strategies previously inaccessible or impractical. You distribute investments across distinct asset categories.
You channel meaningful sums into retirement vehicles compounding across decades. You invest directly in self-education, sharpening skills that exponentially elevate your earning capacity.
You even test entrepreneurial ventures backed by the comforting reality that a setback will not obliterate your livelihood.
Yet, the defining trait separating true wealth architects from the crowd is systemic thinking.
Rather than relying on sporadic bursts of saving, you construct automated mechanisms transferring capital seamlessly without requiring constant conscious effort.
Instead of passively wishing for higher income, you cultivate assets, expertise, and alliances generating steady cash flow continuously.
This is what I define as the autonomy flywheel.
At 30,000, capital purchases time, time refines high-value skills, improved skills generate greater capital, and the entire ecosystem feeds exponentially upon itself.
Most people never witness this phenomenon because they abort their journey prematurely. They accumulate 22,000, feel satisfied, and halt their momentum.
Comfort suffocates ambition, causing them to plateau right before the most thrilling phase of wealth creation begins.
The 30,000 threshold is never about luxury, it is entirely about leverage.
It revolves around engineering an existence where liberty and optionality compound exponentially faster than standard currency ever could. Once this reality clicks, your financial outlook alters permanently. Let me share a secret mainstream gurus conveniently omit.
They obsess over the glamorous 100,000 milestone while completely glossing over the vital, psychological transformation happening at 30,000.
Beyond numerical accumulation, you acquire an infinitely more potent asset, the absolute capacity to utter a clean, unwavering no.
Reflect on your previous job hunt.
If your account hovered near absolute zero, you undoubtedly accepted whatever meager compensation was tossed your way, uttering appreciative remarks on your way out.
But when you sit comfortably on 30,000, your entire posture shifts. You start interrogating the interviewer.
What is the genuine growth ceiling here? How toxic is the internal culture? Am I willing to trade 40 weekly hours with these specific individuals?
Desperation vanishes entirely from your psychological makeup, and desperation is an exceptionally expensive state of being.
I call this phenomenon absolute refusal power, the most criminally underrated superpower in personal finance, unlocking its full potency right at 30,000.
You decline abusive managers, draining side ventures, sketchy speculative assets,
and toxic social dynamics without a second thought.
Desperation is expensive. Autonomy is priceless. Conversely, mastering the art of refusal instantly sharpens your ability to select the right opportunities.
The absolute freedom to walk away makes you profoundly discerning about what deserves your commitment.
When a vehicular breakdown occurs at this stage, you do not panic, dial acquaintances, or slash credit cards at punishing interest rates.
You calmly assess the landscape, repair or replace. If replacement makes logical sense long term, you execute cleanly.
You operate like an investor, not a drowning victim. Naturally, an unexpected behavioral shift occurs that nobody warns you about. Your social circle reacts differently.
Certain acquaintances persistently solicit financial guidance, expecting miraculous outcomes without executing any foundational labor.
Others grow defensive or visibly uncomfortable around your newfound stability.
My guidance is straightforward. Never become an insufferable finance bore, but equally, never pretend to be destitute merely to soothe fragile egos.
You earned every single dollar, and those exact self-discipline muscles will fuel your ongoing ascent.
Speaking of expansion, the cardinal sin committed at this exact milestone is treating 30,000 as a finish line rather than a starting gate.
Experiencing security often tempts people to coast, abandoning continuous education and risk-taking.
This is the plateau trap where dormant savers financially perish. True breakthrough requires recognizing that 30,000 simply establishes your base camp on the mountain.
You are not standing on the peak, but you finally possess the positioning required for a serious summit push.
You trade random goals for robust, self-sustaining financial systems. Let us examine a concrete example.
Holding 10,000 makes spending $1,000 on an advanced digital marketing certification feel terrifying.
At 20,000, it feels risky, but upon securing 30,000, the evaluation changes completely.
Will this specific competency expand my annual revenue by more than the initial outlay? If affirmative, it ceases to be a cost and officially transforms into an appreciating asset.
This cognitive pivot defines the chasm dividing mere cash hoarders from genuine wealth architects.
Hoarders clutch bills defensively out of terror, while builders deploy capital strategically, recognizing that stagnation remains far riskier than calculated deployment.
At 30,000, you seize opportunities invisible to the average observer.
You might fund a promising peer's venture, relocate to a booming metropolitan hub, or acquire certifications doubling your earning potential.
Crucially, these choices stem from a position of absolute strength rather than panic-driven desperation.
And choices forged in strength yield vastly superior dividends. Here is the perspective shift that truly shatters expectations. You start viewing currency through the lens of a workforce.
Specific dollar employees stand guard in your emergency fortress, while other financial units march directly into investment battlefields to recruit reinforcements.
Every single coin possesses a defined description and an active mission to optimize your existence.
When this philosophy anchors in your mind, random frivolous spending feels utterly counterproductive, akin to dismissing your best workers mid-shift.
Furthermore, your valuation of personal time undergoes a radical economic calibration.
If your hourly output commands $50, spending 3 exhausting hours hunting for a $20 retail discount represents a net mathematical loss. Your time carries superior value. At 30,000, you optimize aggressively for time efficiency and convenience rather than chasing rock bottom pricing.
The investment avenues unlocked at 30,000 extend far beyond raw accumulation. They represent true diversification maturity.
Allocating distinct tranches across retirement funds, equity indexes, and individual equities, while retaining a robust cash buffer, creates systemic stability.
This diversification does not merely mitigate risk. It accelerates financial literacy.
Directing capital into diverse instruments forces you to master business reports, tax architecture, and market cycles.
That cumulative knowledge compounds relentlessly over decades.
Achieving 30,000 proves conclusively to your subconscious that you possess the capacity for delayed gratification on a meaningful scale.
You validate your ability to prioritize enduring freedom over fleeting indulgence.
That internal self-reliance transcends finance entirely, empowering you to conquer physical fitness milestones, master complex languages, or launch ambitious enterprises.
Confidence snowballs into superior execution, generating an unstoppable feedback loop.
The discipline that carved your first 30,000 mirrors, the exact architecture required to scale toward 100,000, a million, and beyond.
The ultimate challenge is not the initial accumulation, it is resisting the siren song of lifestyle inflation designed to project false affluence rather than build genuine net worth.
Your mind whispers seductive rationalizations convincing you that you deserve luxury vehicles or lavish international getaways.
Recognize those whispers for what they are, traps. Every single coin sacrificed to project wealth starves the very assets engineered to make you genuinely secure.
Consider two peers, Sarah and Jake. Sarah hits 30,000 and immediately finances an expensive luxury vehicle, locking herself into crushing monthly servicing costs.
Jake deploys 20,000 into a diversified compounding portfolio. 5 years later, Sarah's vehicle retains a fraction of its value, while Jake's portfolio has surged past 35,000.
The divergence stems entirely from recognizing that 30,000 is an instrument of construction, not a trophy of consumption.
Building an empire does not require subsisting like a hermit. It requires deploying capital exclusively toward elements yielding genuine returns in capital, time, or leverage.
Whether funding high ROI professional credentials, profitable micro-ventures, or broad market equities, your priority remains launching pads, not finish lines.
If your current balance sits near 20,000, recognize that the most exhilarating chapter of your financial evolution is unfolding right now.
And if you are currently starting from zero, remember that every single disciplined coin saved casts a definitive vote for the empowered individual you are actively constructing.
The 30,000 rule transcends mere currency. It represents a profound psychological metamorphosis.
Welcome to Winds of Thought, where your financial paradigm shifts forever.